What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another one. And this is a video that I really didn't plan to do. It just so happened that frog season was in my sights. I was ready for it, at least I thought I was. I went to check out my gigs and I didn't have the gigs. They were broke from probably the last time we used it. Took some of my buddy and his kids out and we broke off a few of those tines. And I'll fully admit it, the gigs that I have used in the past are the actual frog gigs that you would find on or at Walmart or online. I don't particularly like those. Buddy, who I took with me in the past, he had used these guys right here, which, if you can get a look there, it says it's a fish spear. Now, I like it because it's a bigger dimension. I mean, there's the dimensions on it, 6.5 inches wide, and it's got those 5 prongs on it. So I'm going to be making these up. I'm going to be putting them on different poles, and I'm just going to basically run through the process of how I like to make up my frog gigs. So starting out with a 2x4. I have 2 of these. I'm going to make 2 poles today. And I'm gonna rip that board basically in half, and then I'm gonna put some angles on it with the router, some roundovers, and just make a real simple frog gigging pole. It's 2x4, 8 foot long, so it should be perfect. So let's get into it. All right, so I actually just went ahead and did the process of ripping my 2x4 that I started out with. So I just ripped it down the middle. I did that because I just used the natural edges that the board came with to keep straight. That way if I wobbled any on this inside cut, it didn't transfer over on my second pole. So I used the outside cut on it. Also, I figured it would be a little bit straighter than what I cut, which, I mean, I can show you the proof of that down here. You know, I got off a little bit, so I'll probably put that up at the end where I'm not attaching the head. I'll probably put the gig at the other end. And then I just, ripped out the center. So I'm going to head back home, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take a router, and I'm just going to round over these edges on all 4. It should get me close to more of like a round feeling, or a rounder, dimension on these poles. And then after that, I can take probably a draw knife to start off with, and then I'll just draw knife down a portion of this to get that head on there. I also have a belt sander. I may just sand that down kind of like you would on the old school pencil sharpeners. So get back and I will get these rounded over. Alright, back home, and I've just taken my router with a roundover bit, and I've just rounded off those edges all the way down that pole. That way those corners won't be so sharp on your hands, and it's a little bit oblong because the 2x4s, they make it more oblong than they actually do a perfect square, which I think's fine because, I mean, if you just roll up your hand just in a natural position, your hand's not in a perfect circle. So I think that, you can get a good purchase on that pole whenever you're out there gigging. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this other one rounded over the same way. And then I'll show you. I have to make the end of this gig smaller to fit that, or to accept the actual metal gig portion. And I'll give you some pointers on that in just a second. Alright, so I went ahead and I got this second pole rounded over, and then I took a 45-degree bit and actually cut off the edges completely, at least on this end that I'm going to put the actual gig on. And I thought it might get me a little closer to being to that circle there that I just traced around the gig itself. So I'll actually have to go to inside of that black line just a little bit, and the way I'm going to get there is just with the old-fashioned draw knife. You could probably use something like a belt sander or like a flap wheel sander on like a angle grinder, but this pine should be pretty soft, so I'm going to go ahead and try and just do this by hand. It's a frog gig, so it's not going to be super precise work, so I'm just going to work on down and keep test fitting it until I get it just right. Alright, so periodically I've just taken and done test fits of this, and I actually used the draw knife for a while, and then I switched over to the flap disc sander. That way I could take off a little bit here, a little bit there. I just kept pushing up, and I would twist, and it would leave an indentation on the wood there since it's fairly soft, and then I would take down what I needed, and then I just kept working it up all the way until I think it's about right there. So then I took a Sharpie, marked my hole, and then I drilled it. So now I should be ready to just insert that hardware and bolt this guy on. One last thing I wanted to mention on this is the bolt that comes with this package. It will hold your gig on and everything, and it's fine. The thing I don't like is this head that just barely covers the hole, and then I also don't like that the bolt sticks out and has all that overhang. Plus they're just a pain to tighten and keep tight, so if you are just dead set on using this, I would probably recommend you put some kind of Loctite on it, just so you have that added assurance that it's not going to wiggle loose. Personally, my opinion, if I had some, I would probably forego even putting the bolt in, and I would probably run a pop rivet through it and then just pop rivet it on there. There's no reason that you're probably ever going to take this off, so that's why I would opt for the pop rivet. It's secure. I mean, it's going to be tight. It might work loose over time. If so, grind it off, put a new one in, pop it on, and you're good to go. Well, everybody, she's not going to win any beauty contests, but she should get you a few frogs, and it should last you quite a while. I'd say for somebody that's just wanting a simple pole, I know this is fairly common. If you're not wanting to use a stick that you find, I think this is probably a very, very viable option. I mean, you can find pine 2x4s just about anywhere, any town. Go get you one, cut her down. You'll have to have a spare pole, even if you only have one gig head. But if you want it to keep lasting a bunch of different seasons, my advice would be get you some polyurethane, put a coat down on it, maybe even 2 or 3. That way when you are out gigging those frogs, getting that pole in the water and then taking it back out, it'll swell up, take on that water, and then eventually crack on you whenever it dries back out. So definitely, if you're wanting to use it long term, put some polyurethane on it and it'll last you a long time. So until next time, I'll be seeing you. Bye bye.